Welcome to Shrink2Shrink, a psych view on the films with Dr. Colleen Mullen and Courtney Calkins, bringing lessons learned from the big screen into our own lives.
Shrink2Shrink uses the movies to examine psychology and relationships, and we apply the concepts to all of our lives. We don't do film reviews. We just use the content of the films to talk about psychology as well as the human condition. So if you haven't heard all of the Shrink2Shrink shows, keep listening and learn what this show is all about. If you have seen the movie Gone Girl, you've seen Crazy Amy. We break down this film and find the things that we all can learn from the movie, not just how to avoid crazy people.
I went with the assumption that Amazing Amy was what she had to live up to, and she took it to a degree that nobody ever dreamed of because she was having her own amazing party in her psychopath world.
Okay, so going
Yes.
to how personalities are different, we're going to go into when Nick gets arrested in his first interrogation, how he is different from his wife.
You got to the bar around 11 today. Where were you before that, just to cross that off?
Well, I was home. I left at 9:30. I got a cup of coffee, newspaper. I went to Sawyer Beach and read the news.
Did you visit with anyone there?
Well, I kind of go to Sawyer Beach for the solitude.
So, your wife has no friends here. Is she kind of standoffish, Ivy League, rubs people the wrong way?
She's from New York. She's complicated. She's got very high standards.
Type A? Well, that can make you crazy if you're not like that. You seem pretty laid back. Type B. Speaking of which, Amy's blood type.
God, I don't know. I have to look it up at the house.
You don't know if she has friends, you don't know what she does all day, and you don't know your wife's blood type.
Sure, y'all are married.
Okay, so what person in this audience didn't look at their spouse and go, "What's your blood type?"
Exactly. I was going to say, I watched this with a bunch of girlfriends, and we were all married, and everybody says, well, I don't know my partner's blood type.
Yep.
And the whole idea that you might not know what your partner's life looks like. You know, he goes to the beach for solitude. How many of us do that? I mean,
Right.
to think that someday you might have to justify that if you marry a psycho.
Yeah. The animated movie Inside Out does a great job at describing our emotional life. And on this episode, we dive deeper into some of the concepts from the film. At one point, Riley has her first day of school in her new school district, or new city, or new state in San Francisco. And here is Joy conducting all the pieces as she gets ready for her first day of school.
Okay, first day of school, very, very exciting. I was up late last night figuring out a new plan. Here it is. Fear. I need a list of all the possible negative outcomes on the first day at a new school.
Way ahead of you there. Does anyone know how to spell meteor?
Disgust. Make sure Riley stands out today, but also blends in.
When I'm through, Riley will look so good, the other kids will look at their own outfits and barf.
Joy. Yes, Joy? You'll be in charge of the console, keeping Riley happy all day long. And may I add, I love your dress. It's adorable. Oh, this old thing? Thank you so much. I love the way it twirls. Train of thought. Right on schedule. Anger. Unload the daydreams. I ordered extra in case things get slow in class.
Might come in handy if this new school is full of boring, useless classes, which it probably will be.
Oh, sadness. I have a super important job just for you. Really? Mm-hmm. Follow me.
What are you doing?
And there. Perfect. This is the circle of sadness. Your job is to make sure that all the sadness stays inside of it.
So, you want me to just stand here?
Hey, it's not my place to tell you how to do your job. Just make sure that all the sadness stays in the circle. See? You're a pro at this. Isn't this fun?
No.
Atta girl.
So that's all those parts getting ready for school on the first day, and sadness is the one who Riley, or Joy in this case, pushes out makes stand in her own circle.
You know, we have defense mechanisms. We have ways that we orient ourselves, ways that we kind of plan and say, well, what's going to be the worst case scenario? Well, the last thing she wants to do is cry in the middle of class, and because she's scared or sad about being away. And planning to say, well, I'm going to be happy today is one of the ways that we get taught along the way. I think just naturally we get taught like that's what we should do. And so sometimes we feel even worse if sadness creeps up on us. You know, we can't keep our emotions at bay. We can't lock them away in a box. We can try, and sometimes we do a good job at managing them, but we can't totally lock them away, as Riley finds out.
We examine what it means to have a real relationship and how artificial intelligence will affect human interactions when we discuss the movie Ex Machina and the movie Her. Where the female AI is Ava is talking to Caleb, our tester of AI, and she talks like this.
Do you want to be my friend?
Of course.
Will it be possible?
Why would it not be?
Our conversations are one-sided. You ask circumspect questions and study my responses.
Yes.
You learn about me, and I learn nothing about you. That's not a foundation on which friendships are based.
So what, you want me to talk about myself?
Yes.
Where okay, where do I start?
It's your decision. I'm interested to see what you'll choose.
So relationship requires exchange, even with the AI. She's saying, sure, I can get to know you, but you don't, or you get to know me, but I don't get to know you.
Mm-hmm. Right. So kind of looking at that, and interesting that it was the AI challenging the human about that. It almost sounded like the beginning of a therapy session.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you learned something about me, and I learned
one-sided.
Well, and that is as a therapist, that's our job, right? My big job is to remove.
Right. We're not looking to be friends.
Right.
With the client.
You're paying me to remove myself from this conversation and use what I've been trained in. Comedy movies can make us laugh while making us think about our lives and experiences. On this episode of Shrink2Shrink, we analyzed Amy Schumer's movie Trainwreck. We discovered that this comedy can teach us a lot about relationships as well as family.
Where did she get her values? They lay it out right at the beginning with her dad, and he'll explain that he's going through his divorce right then, and he's explaining to his two daughters, what happened, and he has an interesting way of putting it.
Girls, your mother and I are getting divorced. Don't cry. I know you're upset. I know you're confused. I don't know what your mother told you, but let me explain it from my side in terms you can understand. You got your doll, right? You got your doll there.
Yeah.
You got your doll. You like your doll, right?
Yes.
You love your doll.
Yes.
Yes. You love the doll. But what if I told you that was the only doll you were allowed to play with the rest of your life? How would you feel?
Sad.
You'd feel sad. Of course, because there's a lot of other dolls on your shelves. And if you play with the other dolls, you can't have that doll anymore. Even though that doll doesn't really want to play with you at this point. You're both living a lie. There's other dolls you like, and they're making new dolls every year. You want a stewardess doll?
Yeah.
What about a slightly overweight cocktail waitress doll?
Yeah.
What about a doll who happens to be best friends with your main doll?
Yeah.
It could happen, right?
Yeah.
What about a doll you only play with one day and never see again?
Yeah.
What about a doll where your friend's playing with a doll and he needs you to, kind of man up with the other doll? You don't even want to play with that doll, but you do it because your friend's playing with that doll. You don't want to sit there and leave the other doll unattended.
Yeah.
So that's why me and Mom are getting divorced. Monogamy isn't realistic.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
Again.
Monogamy isn't realistic.
Again.
Okay, so Courtney, we're both sitting here cracking up listening to that
My
scene.
eyes are watering.
And when you talk about comedy writers, that's brilliant. I think even as a marriage therapist or relationship therapist, that's a great analogy.
Of course it is.
For explaining how things happen sometimes. No matter how our parents choose to live, whether we agree with it or not, or we have strong opinions or not, somehow we inevitably morph into some aspect of that.
You may never be left alone to die on Mars, but when we explore the psychological world of the movie The Martian, we find many different themes that we all can relate to. Look, some relationship stuff. The next one is it's about Mark and the crew and what happened between them.
Yes.
No, if Watney is really alive, we don't want the Ares 3 crew to know.
How can you not tell them?
They have another 10 months on their trip home. Space travel is dangerous. They need to be alert and undistracted.
But they already think he's dead.
And they'd be devastated to find out they left him there alive.
I'm sorry, but you have not thought this through. I mean, what are we gonna say? Dear America, remember that astronaut we killed and had a really nice funeral for? Turns out he's alive and we left him on Mars. Our bad. Sincerely, NASA. I mean, do you realize the shitstorm that is about to hit us?
How are we going to handle the public?
Legally, we have 24 hours to release these pictures.
We release a statement with them. We don't want people working it out on their own.
Yes, sir.
But if my math is right, he's going to starve to death long before we can help him.
You even imagine what he's going through up there. I mean, he's 50 million miles away from home. He thinks he's totally alone. He thinks we gave up on him. I mean, what does that do to a man psychologically? What the hell is he thinking right now?
I'm definitely gonna die up here if I have to listen to any more god-awful disco music.
It all boils down to they feel like for whatever good or noble reasons, they have to keep a secret from the crew.
Secrets are tough in any kind of relationship, to have secrets.
So do you believe that in relationship you should always have 100% honesty all the time? I love the gravity of the question because you're like, dang it, this is.
I normally answer so fast.
There's no easy answer to this, right? If you're interested in Shrink to Shrink, subscribe on iTunes or any other podcast platform, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Shrink2Shrink, and we will see you on the movie couch.